shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, and then shall the end come.
Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?
Here's today's prophecy update. All evidence indicates that President Trump has put his effort to negotiate a peace deal with Israelis and Palestinians on fast track. There are signs that Trump would like to conclude such a deal yet this year. This possibility is of huge prophetic importance, since the signing of a Middle East peace agreement would be the greatest prophetic fulfillment in 2,000 years. Negotiations toward accomplishing this goal are being conducted even as we speak. We'll disclose details on today's edition of End of the Age. Wow, as I speak that to you, my hair is almost standing on end when I think about possibly this year, the greatest prophetic fulfillment in 2,000 years coming to pass. It's almost like you want to pinch yourself and say, is this for real? Well, we're not positive it will happen this year, but we are positive that they're working on it right now. Let me give you the evidence. We're going to go over portions of several articles that let us know what indeed is happening. Now, President Trump made the statement that he loved making deals. He wrote the book, The Art of the Deal, and he then said that a peace agreement between Palestinians and Israelis would be the deal of all deals. Now we have evidence that he was really serious about that, because he has set his administration in motion, and they're not slow walking it, they're fast tracking it. He has set his administration in motion to achieve this goal right away. Let me give you some of the evidence. Avigdor Lieberman, who's the defense minister of Israel, suggests that a new peace push is afoot. Now remember, he is the defense minister of Israel, the second most important position in Israel next to Benjamin Netanyahu. And he is saying there is a new push for peace in the Middle East afoot. He calls for population swaps. This is in the Jerusalem Post, March the 13th. That's just today, of course. Let me give you the story. Going on down here, Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman said Monday that any future peace agreement with Palestinians should not see some current Israeli Arab MKs as citizens of Israel. Writing on his Facebook page, Lieberman suggested that a new push for peace was on the horizon and warned against repeating what he said were the mistakes of the past. I wonder what he's talking about. Well, he's going to explain. On the threshold of a new attempt to start up diplomatic negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians, we must learn the lessons of the past. And the first lesson is every attempt to solve the Palestinian issue on a land for peace basis is destined to fail. Okay, let's pause a moment, because every negotiation that I know about, and I've been following it for many years, it's always been trade land for peace. Lieberman, who is a veteran on the Israeli political scene, says that approach will fail once again. So let's see what he was talking about. Lieberman said that the only way to a sustainable agreement is through land and population swaps as part of a larger regional peace deal. Now, what's that mean? Yes, land for peace. There are territories that Israel presently occupies that Lieberman says they will withdraw from. But he said that won't do it. He said because the populations are so intermingled that there's going to have to be a population swap as well as a land swap. There are territories that Israel even occupied before 1967 that have relatively heavy Palestinian populations. He said if you leave those in Israel, then the same problems we're dealing with now will continue. On the other hand, there are Jews out in the territory that the Palestinians would receive for their new state, and those areas need to go in Israel. And I think Lieberman is one of the only people proposing this. Let's go on and see what he said. The defense minister suggested that Israel's Arab population should be part of a Palestinian state if a two-state solution were to be agreed upon. It cannot be that a hegemonic Palestinian state will be established without a single Jew, 100% Palestinian. And oh, by the way, that's what Mahmoud Abbas has proposed. He said there won't be one Jew left in the Palestinian state. However, Lieberman said it can't be that you have a Palestinian state with 100% Palestinian population and then Israel would be left with a binational state with 22% Palestinians. He said it's not equitable, it's not fair. Then he went on to say there's no reason that Sheikh Raed Saleh, Ayman Odeh, Basil Gaddis, or Hanin Zoabi will continue to be citizens of Israel. He added, referencing the leader of the Islamic movement's northern branch, as well as 3 joint list MKs. Now, these are all Arabs that are presently members of the Israeli Knesset. He said, you can't have them in the Israeli government because it's a source of continual conflict and a source of continual disagreement. Okay, but the main message here is that a new peace attempt has been started by President Donald Trump. So that's the first thing. Now, to show you that this is in progress, even as I speak to you, we have another article, top Trump advisor, Greenblatt, to meet today, now, with Benjamin Netanyahu and Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the Palestinians. This comes from today's Jerusalem Post. Greenblatt, U.S. President Donald Trump's special representative for international negotiations, is scheduled to arrive in Israel on Monday, 3 days after Trump's phone call with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas about ways to advance the Middle East diplomatic process. Okay, we got to stop because I want to make sure everybody is with us on the same page. So President Trump has only been in office, 50 days or so. He met with King Abdullah II of Jordan. Then a few days later, he met with Benjamin Netanyahu. That was on February the 15th, the Prime Minister of Israel. Now then, he has talked on the phone last Friday with Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the Palestinians, at which time he invited him to pay a physical visit to the White House. Now that was Friday, today is Monday, and Greenblatt, one of his key international advisors, is now in Israel today meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu. Now Greenblatt is scheduled to meet with Prime Minister Netanyahu and with Abbas in Ramallah. So he's going to meet with Netanyahu in Jerusalem, and he's meeting with Abbas in Ramallah because Ramallah is presently serving as the capital of the Palestinians at this time. Now, in addition, he is also scheduled to meet in Jerusalem with President Reuven Rivlin Acting National Security Council head Yakov Nagel, and Coordinator of Government Activities in the Territories, head Major General Yov Mordecai. So Greenblatt is over there meeting with a lot of people. As first reported in the Jerusalem Post last week, Greenblatt is coming to discuss guidelines to govern Israeli construction in the settlements, an issue that was a constant source of friction with the previous administration, the Obama administration. Netanyahu and Trump agreed during their meeting in Washington last month to establish a mechanism to work out these guidelines, and Greenblatt is to head that mechanism. Now, don't forget, Greenblatt was Trump's personal real estate attorney for the last 20 years, and I'm talking about huge, hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate deals. So these men have been in the trenches together. Obviously, President Trump trusts Greenblatt, or he would not now put him in this very critical and sensitive position. But the big point is this. I'm telling you that the Trump peace train has already left the session and is in motion right now. Now let's look at a little bit more of this article. Israel's ambassador to the U.S., Ron Dermer, is currently in the country as well to take part in the discussions with Greenblatt. The talks with Greenblatt, however, are expected to be wider than just the settlement issue, and to include looking at ways to move the long-stalled diplomatic process forward. Let me remind you again, all this is happening today, and since Israel is 8 hours ahead of us, most likely these things have already taken place, and they will be continuing. Sometimes they work late into the night in Israel, so they could be happening even at this very moment. Now, according to White House's readout of the 10-minute-long conversation between Trump and Abbas on Friday, Trump emphasized his personal belief that peace is possible and that the time has come to make a deal. All right, we got to stop right there. Trump said to Mahmoud Abbas, I believe peace is possible and I believe the time has come to make a deal. Now that's the reason I'm saying to you, when this peace agreement is signed, according to Bible prophecy, it will mark the beginning of the final 7 years to, 1, the Battle of Armageddon, and 2, the second coming of Jesus Christ to this earth. Now, is that a big deal or not? And furthermore, when this final 7 years begins, there is a multitude of prophetic fulfillments. It will be the most active 7 years prophetically in the history of the world. I mean, one thing after another. If you would like to know what all is going to happen during the final 7 years, we have a new series out called From Here to Armageddon. We lay it all out, the big overview of what's going to happen from now until the Battle of Armageddon. And by the way, it's at Armageddon that the second coming of Jesus to the earth will take place. I'm talking about his physical coming. So we lay it all out. It's an 8-lesson series. I think every person on earth should get that series. And I think I've got some good news for you. We have put the From Here to Armageddon series together with a couple of other of our brand new products. And my staff tells me that we're running a special called March into Savings, this being the month of March. And you know how marketing people are. They always want a catchy phrase. So they have outlined 7 special deals for this month. One of them is the Armageddon Collection. Not only From Here to Armageddon, but also First Step to Armageddon, December the 23rd, 2016, and also several other items that will be included in that. So it's a great opportunity. Also, here right now, normally our subscription price for 2 years is $29. They now say during this month, $20.17. There's some other things I'll tell you about later on. But anyway, there are some wonderful deals, 7 great deals as we march into savings in this month. So you might want to call. The number to call to talk to someone and to learn all about this, 1-800-END-TIME. And I imagine they have it posted on our website as well. So 1-800-END-TIME or go to endtime.com. Now let's get back to where we are today. And I cannot overemphasize that what President Trump is pushing right now, if he is successful, will trigger the final 7 years to Armageddon and will be the greatest prophetic fulfillment in 2,000 years. Now, continuing on, he stressed that such a deal would have to be negotiated directly between the two parties. He's talking about Abbas now, that are the Palestinians, and that the U.S. could not impose a solution. Trump also invited Abbas to the White House in the near future, so you can expect that to happen. Now, Greenblatt, an Orthodox Jew from Teaneck, New Jersey, is a graduate of Yeshiva University and also studied for a year at Shivat Har Etzion in Alan Shvut in Israel. He has worked for Trump over the last 2 decades as a real estate lawyer. In the heat of the presidential campaign last April, Trump announced that Greenblatt and another one of his top Jewish lawyers, David Friedman, would be his top Israel advisors. Friedman is expected to be approved by the Senate as ambassador to Israel in the next few days. In an interview with JTA last April, Greenblatt said that he supports a 2-state solution as long as it is negotiated by the parties and not imposed by the outside. Israel is very skeptical of anything. Matter of fact, they're very opposed to anything that would be imposed upon them because the United Nations already has attempted to do that. And President Obama was in the process of attempting to do that. So Israel says, we don't want someone dictating to us what our security lines are. That's something that only we can decide. Now, Greenblatt was called unexpectedly by Trump to a meeting the then presidential candidate was having with Jewish reporters last April. When Trump was asked about the settlements, he deflected the query to Greenblatt, who said, I think the settlements should stay, but I think they have to work something out so that both sides are able to live in peace and safety. Obviously, a non-answer. So I guess he's going to be a good diplomat if he's able to avoid questions. Most of them are really good at that. All right, so what do we know right now? We know that Avigdor Lieberman, the second politician in Israel today, the defense minister, says that a new peace effort is imminent. We know now that Trump has sent his right-hand person to Israel that he foresees leading the effort, and he's in Israel right now meeting with the Prime Minister of Israel today and with the head of the Palestinians today. Let's go one step further. This article appeared in Israel National News yesterday. Trump contemplating regional peace conference. After phone conversations with PA leader, President Trump intends to convene a regional peace conference in Jordan or Egypt. Okay, let's stop. Regional peace conference, what does that mean? The idea has come out of the meeting between Netanyahu and Trump on February the 15th that they have a much better chance at getting the deal if they will get more Arabs on the side of the peace deal. So they now have been talking to Saudi Arabia, to the United Arab Emirates, to Jordan, to Egypt, and they want them all to agree to a peace deal, and in so doing, it would give the Palestinians support in making compromises that perhaps they wouldn't be willing to make if they were simply flying solo. So, just like Lieberman said, there would be a regional peace conference. Now then, this article is reporting that Trump and Netanyahu apparently favor a regional peace conference, and they've already decided it would either be held in Jordan or in Egypt. Oh, by the way, the Arabs are holding a conference within a week or so in Jordan as well. I think that's going to be on March the 29th. The Arab League is meeting there. So we have the Arabs meeting there, and possibly we will have Arabs and Jews meeting in Jordan. Continuing on here, officials close to U.S. President Donald Trump stated that after his telephone call on Friday to PA Chairman Mahmoud Abbas, Trump intends to convene a regional peace conference in Jordan or Egypt. The administration is keen to restart the peace process in the Middle East, and the officials stated that Trump himself would attend a regional peace conference, according to a report by Yediot Ahronoth, which is one of the leading papers of Israel. Now, what's that say? That says that the president of the mightiest nation on earth is going to put his credibility on the line by personally going there for this peace conference. Now, normally, before any head of state does that, they have the details pretty well worked out. They have all their front people out there doing the negotiation in private talks. They've hammered out all of the issues, and they're ready to pull the trigger on the deal. They're talking about a regional meeting soon. Oh, don't forget one interesting thing. According to American law, Trump has got to move the embassy to Jerusalem in May, or else sign a waiver in May saying it's not in the interest of national security to do so. Trump has promised he will move that embassy. So are we going to watch this happen in the next month or so? Interesting territory. The Trump peace train has left the station. All right, let's continue on. The Prime Minister's office refused to relate to the matter, but foreign ministry officials said they were aware of the initiative. We're talking about foreign ministry officials of Israel. According to a statement published by the White House after Trump spoke with Abu Mazen, oh, don't let that confuse you. Abu Mazen is another name that Mahmoud Abbas goes by. So after Trump spoke with the Palestinian chairman, Abu Mazen, the president that said that he believes that peace can be reached and that it's time to make a deal. There we hear it again. But stressed that America will not force a solution on the sides and that peace will be attained through direct negotiations. The two spoke of ways to attain peace in the Middle East, which could bring an end to the Arab-Israeli conflict, said the White House announcement. The president stated that such a deal would not just give the Israelis and the Palestinians the peace which they deserve, but would also reverberate positively around the world, would it ever. He added that the U.S. will work together with the Israeli and Palestinian leadership to promote this goal. During the telephone conversation, Abbas committed himself to the strategic option of establishing a Palestinian state living side by side with Israel in peace. According to Abbas's spokesman, President Donald Trump also invited Palestinian Authority Chairman Mahmoud Abbas to the White House during their telephone conversation. President Donald Trump invited President Abbas to visit the White House very soon, the spokesman, Nabil Abu Redineh, said after the phone call, according to Haaretz newspaper, an Israeli publication. The phone call was the first contact between the two leaders. A PA spokesperson quoted by the newspaper said Trump initiated the conversation and Abbas was planning to state his commitment to working with the president for peace. So Abbas says he's on board. Trump says he's on board. Netanyahu says he's on board. Those are your three principal players. Continuing on. The announcement of the conversation came following a report that Jason Greenblatt, Trump's special representative for international negotiations focusing on the Arab-Israeli conflict, will visit Israel next week, and this is next week. That's now happening. Greenblatt's visit aims to help determine the Trump administration's policy on Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria. One more thing before I run out of time. The Saudi Deputy Crown Prince is coming to meet Donald Trump. This comes out in today's Jerusalem Post. This is another shooter drop. Saudi Deputy Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman left Saudi Arabia on Monday for the United States. So while Greenblatt is heading over there, the Crown Prince, the Prince of Saudi Arabia, is coming here to meet with President Trump for a visit scheduled to include talks with U.S. President Donald Trump, the royal court said in a statement carried by the state news agency. It will be the first meeting between the powerful son of Saudi King Salman bin Abdulaziz, who is spearheading a Saudi economic reform plan, and the U.S. president since Trump came to office in January. Well, that's all we have time for, ladies and gentlemen. But I just wanted you to understand the whole world is in motion right now. Don't forget, if you'd like to get on special March into Savings specials, give us a call. The number to call is 1-800-END-TIME. 50% off of digital downloads, 20% off of Understanding the End Time DVD series, 20% off of 6-semester End Time University DVD series. Give us a call. The number to call, 1-800-END-TIME, 1-800-363-8463.
From Here to Armageddon, a new exciting 8-lesson series to share with your friends and family. Order yours right away.
Answering many questions like, how far are we from the Battle of Armageddon? What will happen between now and then? Where are we on the timeline? Your questions answered in this exciting 8-lesson series, From Here to Armageddon.
Go to endtime.com or call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-END-TIME, 1-800-363-8463. Order yours right away.
Today I have some exciting news to share with you. You can now become a magazine subscriber for life. You will receive first-class benefits that will include a lifetime membership to End Time Magazine, as well as an unlimited access to the digital version of the magazine. You will also receive 20% off of all future orders at endtime.com, well, at least till the rapture happens. Never worry about missing one important issue or forgetting to renew. You can rest assured when something happens in the news pertaining to Bible prophecy, you will be informed with the most recent cutting-edge material available. End Time Magazine has been the forefront of End Time Ministries since the beginning, and we would love to join with you in this first ever opportunity of becoming a magazine subscriber for life. Join today by calling 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463, or go to endtime.com.
If your station only carries the first 30 minutes of End of the Age, go to endtime.com and click the watch button to continue today's broadcast. You can also finish up later by clicking the archives button.
I had a thought hit my mind that I've never had before during the first part of our program today, talking about the possibility of Donald Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu, Mahmoud Abbas getting this deal done. If they get this deal done, immediately Israel's going to be launching the building of her temple, and the temple will be finished within 3.5 years. Now, Donald Trump prides himself in building beautiful, amazing buildings. I wonder if he might even have some input on the building of the third temple. I'm not making a prediction, but would it attract him? It certainly would. I just finished reading his book, The Art of the Deal. And of all the things that he loves to design beautiful, outstanding buildings, and he has done it. He has a track record. He also has a record of finishing things ahead of schedule and under budget. So it would make a lot of sense that he would like to at least have an advisory role in the design of Israel's third temple. Well, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it just was a thought that hit my brain as we were talking our way through. I was a little bit rushed. We're getting ready to take your phone calls, by the way. We do have some open lines. The number to call to be on the air with me, 877-END-TIME. That's 877-363-8463. To reach our operators, that number is 800-END-TIME. Now, I went over it sort of fast, so let me just tell you real quickly what our staff here is prepared for this special month of March. It's called March into Savings, and they have 7 special deals that I want to tell you about. First of all, you can receive a reduction if you need to subscribe to End Time Magazine. And if you're not a subscriber, you do need to subscribe. The world's most widely circulated prophecy magazine, and you're not getting it, fix that one today. It costs almost nothing. I'm not even sure we're breaking even on the cost. Nevertheless, they're even reducing it further. Normally it's at $29 for 2 years. Now, $20.17 because this is 2017. So they've decided to put the price there at least for this month. And then in addition to that, our Armageddon collection, and that is Seeds of Armageddon, November 29, 2012, From Here to Armageddon, 8-lesson series. First Step to Armageddon, December 23rd, 2016, just happened. A timeline, a beautiful timeline, showing all the events that will happen from here to Armageddon. And that's going to be special to you for $112. It's called the Armageddon Collection. And you would really, I think, that's the latest material we produced, and I think you would certainly enjoy that. In addition to that, my staff tells me that they're going to give 20% off of the Understand the End Time DVD series. Maybe you've been wanting to get it, but maybe you felt like there's a little bit pressure on your budget. Well, now then 20% off. And then the digital downloads of anything we carry here at End Time Ministries, 50% off. Well, that's quite a reduction. And then deal number 5, 10% off of our Islamic Invasion package. That includes the amazing interviews by Kamal Salim, his works, some of the things we have done. The operators will tell you all the details about that. It's called the Islamic Invasion package. Wow, you need that. Now then, deal number 6, 20% off the 6th semester End Time University DVD series. It's called End Time University, 6 semesters, 83 hours, designed to take a person from spiritual infancy to spiritual maturity. 20% off of everything there. So call our operators, they'll tell you the details about that. And then we have a package called the 777 package. And now they're going to give 10% off of that. That includes huge amounts of our material. Let the operators tell you all about it, but they've now taken 10% off of that. It was already severely discounted, so that's a whopper of a deal. Anyway, we're just making this available here in March as our March into Savings, and I just wanted you to know all about that. Okay, we're going to come to the phones now, and let's go first of all to Janie. Janie's calling from Missouri. Hello, Janie.
Hi, Brother Baxter.
What's on your mind?
I have a fast question for you. I've heard you say that you believe that there's going to be Gentiles saved after the rapture, and I was just wondering what you specifically believe the fullness of the Gentiles will be that is mentioned in Romans 11:25. And I'll take your answer off here.
Okay, Janie.
Thank you.
Janie, I think you misheard me when I said there will be Gentiles after the rapture, what I said was there will be Gentiles saved during the Great Tribulation, because I don't believe the rapture happens until the end of the Great Tribulation. I also believe there will be Jews and Gentiles saved all during the final 7 years and during the final 3.5 years that Jesus called the Great Tribulation. So I believe that the Gentiles and Jews will experience a simultaneous revival in the end time, just like they did in the beginning of the church age. There was a huge Jewish church and a huge Gentile church in the beginning of the church age during the time of the apostles. I believe that's the same way we will go out. Now, your question is, what do I believe the fullness of the Gentiles is? Well, the Lord has turned to the Gentiles to take out a bride for his name's sake over the last 2,000 years. And the Bible says, blindness in part hath happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in, and yet all Israel shall be saved. So what's going to happen is, we are almost to the end of the Gentiles now, and that will finish at the Battle of Armageddon. How do I know that for sure? Because Revelation chapter 11, verse 1 and 2, John was told to take a measuring reed to measure the temple on the Temple Mount and the people that worship therein, but don't measure the outer court, because the outer court will be trodden down the Gentiles for 42 months. So it's the end of that 42 months, and the 42 months begins halfway through the final 7 years and ends at Armageddon. So he said, don't measure the outer court, because Jerusalem will be trodden down the Gentiles for 42 months. That all culminates again in the Battle of Armageddon. So I believe that the times of the Gentiles will be finished at the time of Armageddon, when Jesus Christ comes, his second coming at the Mount of Olives to fight for the Jewish people. Hope that helps. Okay. Let's go to Pamela calling from Tennessee. Hello, Pamela.
Hi, Reverend Baxter. Good afternoon. I wanted to mention this past weekend was reading on a website called dailymail.com that Donald Trump and his son, Jared Kushner, son-in-law, pardon me, had met. He had flown to meet with both of them this past week. I don't know if you read the article, but you can just pull up dailymail.com and put in Tony Blair, and they met with Donald Trump. They were very eager to hear what he had to say, because he knows a lot of the Palestinian leaders as well as other people, and being from Europe, they felt he would be comfortable in the peace talks that he's meeting. So he flew over this past weekend to meet with Netanyahu, the article said. So I just thought you might find it interesting.
Okay, Pamela, you need to help me out a little bit, because your voice is a little bit blurry. Are you by any chance on a speakerphone?
Yes. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah. So would you briefly rephrase, because everything was distorted on me.
I apologize. Okay, I'm off the speakerphone. Donald Trump and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, had met with Tony Blair this past week,
right?
And with him to discuss this peace plan. He knows a lot of the Arab leaders that the article was saying, and it's an article on dailymail.com that appeared on Saturday afternoon, and you can Google it to, just put in Tony Blair and Donald Trump peace plan talks, and they were very interested in what he had to say, because him being from Europe, he knows a lot of these leaders. So he has flown this past weekend over to meet with Netanyahu. I don't know if you heard anything or read anything, but that was on dailymail.com.
Well, I did read the article, quite an extensive article about Tony Blair meeting with Donald Trump and also with Jared Kushner. Now, I did not hear that Blair had flown to Netanyahu, but Tony Blair has been involved in the peace process for many years now. He was the official envoy to the peace process from what was known as the Quartet. Tony Blair actually rented a place in the American Colony Hotel, which is in Jerusalem, and he lived there. That became his official residence for a year or two. I happened to stay in that same hotel when I was in Jerusalem last February, and they told me all about him staying there. He occupied one entire floor of their hotel. And so he is very knowledgeable about the Middle East. My only concern would be this. If he's been working on it for 10 or 12 years with no success, why would you want his advice on how to succeed when he obviously doesn't know how? So that would be my first knee-jerk reaction. Now, perhaps he does have a lot to share, a lot of input, a lot of advice, but I would not make him my front man because he obviously doesn't know how to bring a deal home.
Sure. Well, it was just mentioning that in the Daily Mail. You can read the article. And also had a question. One of the, there's a gentleman on before you on Sunday evening. You're on at 11:30 on Sunday night. He's on right before you from 11 to 11:30. He was mentioning that Sweden is training their military right now because there's an uprising going on. They're going to go go to war against Russia. Have you heard anything about that?
Now, who's training?
Sweden. Are they mentioned in Revelation as one of the countries?
No, but I will tell you this. I have not heard of any conflict between Sweden and Russia. I have, though, heard of a conflict between Sweden and Turkey because there are a lot of Turkish people who live in Sweden. They've gone there, and now they're having big street rallies in favor of giving to Erdogan additional dictatorial powers. And Sweden has now shut those rallies down and will not allow them to take place. I don't know whether that's what you're speaking of or not, but that's a big item in the news over the last couple of days.
Now, this mentioned that they were training their guys for war. I thought he said Russia. As I said, he's the gentleman that's on right before you from 11 to 11:30, and
Yep.
I wish I had written, but I thought they said they were training to go against Russia in war. So I wondered if they were mentioned in Revelation.
No, not to my knowledge. And furthermore, Sweden's an awful small power. I cannot imagine them contemplating war, going it alone against Russia. That doesn't sound right to me, although I did not hear what was said, and I've not read any articles about that. But I think you better go check that out again and just make sure that you've got that straight, or that the individual you were listening to had it straight. I can't really respond beyond that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for your information.
Okay, well, thank you, Pamela, as well. We'll continue to take your calls after this break. If you're not a partner with End Time Ministries, now's a wonderful time to get on board. 2017 may be the biggest prophetic year in the last 2,000 years. Be on the inside. Get my partner letters that I send only to our partners. If you become a partner, to be a partner, call us, 800 End Time. Let me tell you today about our exciting Armageddon collection. What does the term Armageddon mean? Why is it so important in Bible prophecy in the last days? And what will happen between now and then? In our Armageddon collection, we cover subjects such as events of the final 7 years, the revealing of the Antichrist, the mark of the beast, and the world's greatest revival just ahead. In this special collection, you will receive the DVD, Seeds of Armageddon, November 29, 2012, our 8-lesson series, From Here to Armageddon, along with a printout of our 7-year timeline, and our informative DVD, First Step to Armageddon, December 23rd, 2016. All of this for your gift of $140 or more, plus the cost of shipping and handling. To order your Armageddon collection, go to endtime.com or call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. We will be taking your calls in this final segment of our program today. The number to be on the air with me, 877-END-TIME. That's 877-363-8463. To reach our operators, that number is 1-800-END-TIME. We have some open lines right now, so this is your chance. Many times we don't have any open lines, so if you want to jump in, now's the time to do it. 877-END-TIME. Let's go back to the phones, and calling from Indiana is Jacqueline. Hello, Jacqueline.
Hello?
What's on your mind today?
Yes, I was just typing in the forum earlier. I'm a little confused. You were talking about the peace treaty and Donald Trump being involved with it, and also Jared Kushner. And I thought I had heard you say earlier at one time that the Antichrist would be directly involved with the signing of the peace treaty. Wouldn't that make Donald Trump or his son-in-law to be the Antichrist?
Well, the Antichrist is going to be involved. However, there's a good chance there will be several people involved. Always in the Middle East negotiations, like the last negotiations they had, you had the UN there, you had Tony Blair there, you had John Kerry there representing the United States, you had Benjamin Netanyahu, you had Mahmoud Abbas. So it wasn't one or two that were there, it was a group of people. I would say there's a chance that will be true this time as well. Now, do I believe that Trump could be the Antichrist? No, I don't, because the Bible teaches the Antichrist must come out of Europe. So for the Antichrist, whoever he may be, he must come out of the Holy Roman Empire, reborn, and you can prove that theologically. It'd take a while, but you can do it. So do I believe that Trump has any chance of being the Antichrist? No, I absolutely do not.
Okay. Well, I don't believe Trump is the Antichrist, but his son-in-law was the one that I was a little sketchy about because he's a little secretive. Nobody really knows a lot about him. And I know that I had read an article, something about the business where he's at. The address is a little weird. It's 666 Fifth Avenue in New York, and that the RFID chip was invented in that building, and it just kind of didn't add up. So,
well,
that's what I was wondering about.
Jared Kushner is Jewish, and of course he married Ivanka, the daughter of Donald Trump, and she converted to Judaism in order to marry him. However, it appears that the Antichrist will not be Jewish, or if he is Jewish, he will be an apostate Jew, because the Antichrist is going to be an enemy to the state of Israel and is ultimately going to invade Israel at Armageddon. So that's
I hate to interrupt you, but how does that add up as far as that the Bible says that the very elect should be deceived? They would never believe a Muslim. It seems like to me that it would be a Jew that they would take their word for before they would do a Muslim or somebody else, right?
Well, obviously, if the Antichrist were Jewish and he were a apostate Jew, then they may believe him, but there's nothing in the Bible that says the Jews will believe him. The Jews will actually be against the Antichrist all during the Great Tribulation. The Bible clearly states they will be, because he's going to invade Israel at Armageddon. So he's an enemy. He is an enemy to the nation of Israel all during the Great Tribulation period. And I know it's been taught that the Jews are going to accept the Antichrist as their Messiah, but I don't believe that's taught in the Bible.
Well, what is that scripture talking about when it says that to be warned that the very elect would be deceived?
Well, the reason for that is the Bible teaches that the false prophet is going to pull down fire from heaven in the sight of men. And
that would be the Pope, right?
That will be the Pope, yes.
Yes, okay.
And so when people see a religious leader that's supposed to be the world's leading Christian pulling down fire from heaven, it's going to be very deceptive.
Okay. All right. I was just a little confused about that. I wasn't quite so sure. And I heard the other lady before me was talking about Tony Blair, and I did read an article on Fox talking about how he was warning against populism. He's a major globalist. That Tony Blair is. So
yes, Tony Blair, like you say, is a major globalist. Mm-hmm. He does believe in one world government. He also believes in a form of one world religion. He actually has a foundation called the Tony Blair Foundation, and he started a course, which is a degreed course now at Yale University, called Faith and Globalization. He's the guest instructor for that course, and he believes that the rapid pace of globalization has brought people close together between the internet and rapid travel. It's brought people close together, and that's brought their religions into conflict. And so he has devoted himself to try to teach everybody that there are basic concepts in every major religion that actually match, and that therefore religion should not be a course of conflict, but a course of unity. And that's one of the big efforts that Tony Blair has made since he left from being Prime Minister of...
Yeah, that's what I had heard too. So.
Yeah, from being Prime Minister of England.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you, Jacqueline. Appreciate it very much. Let's go now to Missouri. Nora's calling. Hello, Nora.
Hi. I know you was talking about when the peace agreement is settled and about the war of about Armageddon. Okay, how does where does the what you usually refer to as World War III? How does that where's that come in at?
Well, it's really interesting. At the same time that President Trump is pushing this new peace initiative, he's also pushing a major war along the Euphrates River. We moved troops this last week into Syria. We moved 2,500 troops into Kuwait, all in the area of the Euphrates River. I've said from the beginning that I didn't know for certain from Scripture which would occur first, World War III, or whether it would be the building of the temple and the Middle East peace agreement, that they were so close together in prophetic order that I couldn't tell which one would happen first. And it's like both of them are almost developing side by side right now, and I still cannot tell you. I know for sure, though, that the sixth trumpet war will happen before the Great Tribulation begins, and the Great Tribulation begins halfway through the final 7 years. How do we know that? Because in Revelation chapter 9, you have the sixth trumpet war. And it says, after that war, still men repented not. After all that devastation, after 1/3 of mankind dies, still men repented not of their fornication, of their sorceries, of their thefts. And then in chapter 10, you have an angel standing 1 foot on the land, 1 foot on the sea, declaring that delay shall be no longer. That event launches the Great Tribulation. You immediately move into chapter 11, and chapter 11 is the record of the final 3.5 years. So we know the war will happen before the final 3.5 years. We don't know for sure that it will happen before the final 7 years. So once again, I cannot tell you for certain which happens first, the Middle East Peace Agreement or World War III. Either one of those will be the greatest prophetic fulfillment in 2,000 years. So we may be watching both of these running on a parallel track right now, and that's the best I can do for you. Okay, well, thank you very much for your call, and let's go down to John calling from Michigan. Hello, John.
Hello, Irvin. Thank you for taking my call.
Welcome.
I'll try to be brief. I see we're about out of time. I had sent you an email with a link to an article in Israeli news where the archaeologists have dug up a old mosque, and there was an inscription there that referred to the Temple Mount as the Temple Mount. And I just find that very interesting in light of the UN saying that the Israelis have no right to Jerusalem, or that the Temple Mount and the Muslims, they claim that that they don't have any right to it. The other thing is, I'll just let you comment on that maybe.
Yeah, well, there have been many things. Right today, Muslims say there never was a temple on the Temple Mount. Muslims say the Jews have no history there on the Temple Mount. And yet, you can go back to some older Muslim books that openly acknowledge that the Temple Mount was given to the Jews as a place for their temple. So it's a contradiction. More recently, they've discovered some archaeological discoveries just south of the Temple Mount that show absolutely that the Jewish government was there 2,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago. So many of the Muslims, they will just blindly close their eyes and say there never was a temple on the Temple Mount. And when Yasser Arafat did that to Bill Clinton, that's when Bill Clinton threw up his hands in frustrations and said, how can you talk with a person that's supposed to be an intelligent person that has his eyes closed? And that's when he just suspended the peace talks and realized there was not going to be peace between Israel and the Palestinians. But that's what they do. And yes, they have discovered infallible archaeological proof that there was a temple on the Temple Mount.
Thank you again for taking my call. God bless you.
Okay, thank you, John. I think we got time for one more. Let's go to Pamela calling from Indiana. Hello, Pamela.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
First of all, I'm probably going to ramble because I'm nervous. But
Okay.
I just wanted to say our son is joining the military after he graduates. Him and his father and I, though, have been separated since he's been 4. And every time though he visited his father would teach him the Bible. So he from 4 till now, he knows the Bible. He don't read it himself, and he hasn't given himself yet over to the Lord. But my question is, during King David's time, he had war and stuff to protect his nation and things like that. And then I read where thou shalt not kill. Now, when my son joins the military, he's probably going to be sent overseas and during war and things like that. But I feel that ain't protecting our nation like King David did. That's just going over there to fight for the elite of the world to sacrifice our kids. They're not fighting for our country. They're fighting for the elite.
Pamela, since we're just about out of time, I think I know what your question is. Let me reply, all right, before we run out of time?
Okay.
I do believe in the Old Testament, Israel fought literal wars. Israel was a physical kingdom. In the New Testament, Jesus said, if my kingdom were of this age, then would my servants fight. But he rebuked his servants from fighting because the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they are mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. Today, if you go to war, and there's a Christian in this foxhole, and across the way from the other side is a Christian in that foxhole, you got one Christian trying to kill another. Or if you're a Christian here and an unsaved person over there, you're killing them and sending them to hell. So am I for war? No. Do I believe that Christians today should involve themselves in war? Now, there's a big difference of opinion on this. My opinion is that the Bible teaches that that's something we would not want to do. So if I were you as his mother, I would counsel him to rethink his decision to get into the military, because it is going to be very possibly the worst war the world has ever known just ahead of us.
I'm afraid.
And Pamela, you're going to have to call back another day because we're totally out of time. Listen to all of you. Thank you so much for listening today. And don't forget, if you're not yet a partner with End Time Ministries, we'd love to have you on board. We need you, God needs you, and you will be blessed. The number to call is 1-800-END-TIME, 1-800-363-8463. You also may go to endtime.com.
End of the Age is a production of End Time Ministries. This broadcast will be available on our website, endtime.com, in the archives section. On our website, you'll also find more information about how current events are fulfilling Bible prophecy. To reach our operators, call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. End Time Ministries is partner supported. We would like to say thank you to our partners who made this broadcast possible. To do what Matthew 24:14 said, to reach the world with the gospel of the kingdom.